Okay, so with Digimon Story Time Stranger coming October 3rd, I've been getting an increased amount of questions about which Digimon game is the friendliest for beginners to the franchise, or for those that just remember the series as a kid and want to dive back in but are sort of overwhelmed by the amount of variance between Digimon games. Today's video is basically just going to be briefly going over which game I think is the best to dive into, why I think that, and what I think about this game because I recently played through it and definitely think it's going to be the best bang for your buck. That being said, make sure to sit back, relax, subscribe for more monster taming and Digimon content, and let's dive in. Okay, so the Digimon franchise doesn't stem from the video games like Pokemon does, and because of this, there isn't really a definitive main series of games that all other media branches off from. Because of this, we have a plethora of different Digimon gaming experience, which includes Tamagotchi-esque V-Pets to Monster Rancher-esque monster raising to turn-based RPGs. There are fighting games, a visual novel tactical RPG, etc. That being said, when it comes to what I think most returning or first-time fans would be interested in and which would be the most friendly for a beginner out of those main genres, if you will, I think that most of us can agree that the widest array of people would be more in tune with an RPG, especially since most people who are looking to get into Digimon games are probably coming from some type of game such as Pokemon, Dragon Quest Monsters, Persona/SMT, or just a monster taming background in general, most of which are of course RPGs. Now calm down if you're a fan of the other Digimon games. I'm not saying that the other ones are bad, but are definitely more niche. I absolutely loved Survive, but a lot of people were not fans of it because it was a visual novel, which is niche, and a tactical RPG, which is also niche, especially if you put the two together. I think the combat was very beginner friendly for someone that hasn't played that type of game before, but I know that it's not for everyone. That being said, from the list of RPG games that Digimon has put out, and this is where things could get even more confusing because the Digimon Story series is usually the RPG series, while Digimon World games are supposed to be the sort of monster raising games, but games like Digimon World 2 play sort of like a dungeon crawler. Digimon World 3 is actually an RPG, and Digimon World Dawn and Dusk were named Digimon World titles due to either a translation error or maybe marketing to keep the majority of games named similarly at the time, but were actually Digimon Story games. There are also a lot of Digimon games that never released in the West, but do have fan translations, so that's something to keep in mind too. Now, if we are going to find a game that's going to appeal to the most amount of people, expecting people to either mod a system in order to get a fan translation of a game is going to alienate a lot of people, and we also have to take into consideration how easily available something is, so I would say that Digimon World 3 on PS1, despite it being a game that a lot of people praise, isn't that accessible now. Same with Digimon World Dawn and Dusk being on DS. So I think those would kind of rule those out for modern Digimon fans. There is also a game like Digimon Adventure PSP, which does have a fan translation and is extremely beginner friendly since it follows the main cast of the original anime, but again, fan translation plus it's an old console, probably not beginner friendly. That being said, that really just leaves us with Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth and Digimon Story Hacker's Memory, which conveniently can be bought in a bundle together on relatively modern hardware, including PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. These are the most recent Digimon Story games, and Digimon Story Time Stranger seems to be taking a lot of what worked with these games and improving upon them with similar systems, so I think this is a no-brainer. Now, technically these games happen at the same time in terms of the story, however, I do think that you should start with Cyber Sleuth because both games will introduce you to the integral systems and whatnot, but when you play Hacker's Memory, you'll get to see characters that appeared in Cyber Sleuth and get more context for that story, so I think they should be played that way. They came out that way, so yeah. Think about these two games sort of like Colosseum and XD in that they're both built on the same engine, with Hacker's Memory being the sort of enhanced version featuring more Digimon and whatnot, but both games are solid. The games play as 3-on-3 active time battle RPGs where the specific actions and speed of a Digimon will affect how often it can attack. You have moves that are based on either physical attacks or magic attacks. You have spread moves, buffs, debuffs, and everything you'd expect to see in this type of game. Having played at least a little bit of almost every Digimon game at this point has definitely led me to the opinion that these games are the best when it comes to a learning curve for new players. They feature a monster collection as a forefront, have honestly aged really well since the first one came out in 2016, and has a lot of side content like the Digimon farm that allows you to train Digimon passively, feed them, uncover new missions, etc. There are a lot of side quests to take on as well, hundreds of Digimon to experiment with, and more. Now, the game's been out a really long time. I'm not going to make an entire review here, but I can very much say that this is the go-to game for anyone looking to dive into Digimon for the first time. Now, I gotta say that playing through these games have been a lot of fun, especially messing around with the evolution system because it gives you a ton of options. Combat's pretty simple and easy to learn with a good amount of complexity if you want to master it. And while some complain that the game has a lot of dialogue and the digital world is quite limiting, one thing to remember is that these games were originally released on Vita and later brought to modern hardware, hence the lack of camera control. And these games, if anything, should be compared more to a Persona game rather than a Pokemon game. The story takes the front seat, and the game focuses a lot more on the human and Digimon characters that you meet. Also, while people complain that the game's digital world is mostly the sci-fi looking place, I think a lot of people are misunderstanding what the area is. This is not the digital world. The digital world is in the game, which is briefly shown, and is more similar to what we see in Time Stranger, but this game has its story take place in a place called Eden, which is essentially an online virtual reality internet place that sort of acts like a bridge between the two worlds, where Digimon and humans are interacting for the first time, and people think that Digimon are just computer programs created by humans. Anyways, a pro piece of advice is to shop around for these games because on Steam, they're actually quite expensive. However, they go on sale for 80 to 90% off every single time Steam has a sale. So I definitely wouldn't recommend buying these at full price. I personally wanted a physical version of the complete edition for my Switch and managed to get one on Amazon for like $40 Canadian, which is $30 USD. So I'm not sure if Steam is going to have a sale in the near future, but even if it doesn't before Time Stranger gets out and you want to play it, I would wait until the Black Friday sale or something to that extent, or just stay subscribed to this channel because we usually post a video whenever major monster taming sales happen. All that being said, let me know down below if you're planning on picking up this game. If you have played it, let me know what you think. And if you disagree that this is the most beginner-friendly Digimon game for the widest array of people, let me know which game you think is better as a starting point for the casual fan. All that being said, special thanks to my supporters, especially Wrathful Beast, Candy Moroncy, Tragsoft, Chronomon, and Nemo, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.